So, my name is Julia Reisers. I'm a teacher and researcher at the Kiel University here in Germany at the Department of Media Education and Education and Computer Sciences. Somewhere long department, a long name for a department. And my topic is about personal and socio-material learning entanglements. This is more a provocative title for my work, and maybe we could also delete the personal in it. So maybe I try to explain it, and then we can talk about it. What would it mean for personal learning environment? What would it mean for research, for example, or for pedagogical concepts? So my questions, I'm always in search of challenging interventions because I'm also a teacher, and my question would be, how might we induce dissonance in specific situations to challenge students to develop and to reflect on their personal and socio-material learning entanglements. So, because I think in the students and also we as researchers are somehow knowledge workers, and we have to work in multidisciplinary teams. We have to negotiate practices, roles in those teams, and try to solve structured problems, maybe with a lot of uncertainty in it. So I think these situations demand new ways of thinking and learning, and if we want to support students to apply not only common knowledge but also to create new knowledge, we should make them able to be flexible and to adjust to dynamic conditions and to be actively engaged in emerging contexts. And it's also Wenger's intention, Etienne Wenger's intention, that those social negotiations are a fundamental goal of learning. So I think students should not only explore to know what, but also to know how to do it and how to solve a given problem, for example. So Barnes said that he understands practices as socially shared forms of activities which may develop as routines. The underlying aspect of a practice demand knowledge and experiences about context conditions in which the practice takes place. And this is also a reason why I'm interested what kind of role does context play if we want to develop concepts for our students, or And so now, why does context matter? In my work, I see, or my work is based on the assumption that learning is a social process and enables an individual to change their practices and also to address cultural requirements. So this is also an important part, that cultural and also material aspects are important for learning and are interdependent. So therefore it can also be assumed that context matters not only to an individual but also to a group, and it's a whole social aspect. So for me it seems that the PLE is not only a personal aspect, but it's more in a broader way an ongoing process of social interactions and negotiations. So there are three different paradigms or theories or approaches I looked into three aspects or approaches. For example, the mechanistic view, how learning takes place in a mechanistic view, and also what kind of role does context play in this view. So it's more that the individual is independent from the surroundings, and the surroundings are influencing the individual. So the focus is more on how the individual at the center is influenced by the surroundings and by the maybe a scale from local to global. So which kind of environment exists and how does it influence the individual. So context is portrayed more like a container. So in the activity theory, for example, by Engström developed this concept further. Context is the activity, or the activity is the context with all its components, where the activity or the activity is enacted. So he states that what takes place in an activity system composed of objects, actions, and operations is the context. So the focus of the activity is also important because it's important to also consider the motives of an activity and the goals of an action. So context is entangled in this whole system, in those components. And learning takes place if we consider that there are also aspects of uncertainties or contradictions that are emerge in an activity, and through those contradictions learning takes place. Questions were asked, and people have to negotiate, for example. So it is more like the Marxist notion of a dialectical contradiction that is central to activity theory. So the third view is based on a sociomaterial perspective, also a co-evolutionary perspective, or practice-oriented view, and it focuses on those that materials and resources are constitutively entangled with social environments and cultural environments. So the material is really important, but not in a way that it's independently, or that you can consider it independent from the individual, but rather it's the practice, or the practice that's in the center of the considerations in the view. So it's entangled. You can't separate the one from the other. So teaching and learning activities can't be separated from context, but can be renowned as felicitators of epistemic processes. I'm not ready. So maybe to explain the sociomaterial, or the practice-oriented view a little bit better, this is a really good quote from Olli Koski, who worked on this approach. And she said, humans are constituted through relations of materiality, bodies, clothes, food, devices, tools, which in turn are produced through human practices. The distinction of humans and artifacts on this view is analytical only. These entities relationally entail or enact each other in practice. As Law puts it, this is a thoroughgoing relational materiality. Materials and serialities are treated as relational products. They do not exist in and of themselves. And I have one example. She wrote about Google search. And if you use Google search, for example, as a researcher in China, you will get other results than in Germany because of the political restrictions. And this might also influence your research and your methods you would use, and your acting in this environment. So that all these material, social and cultural aspects are entangled and not separated from each other. So this would be my last slide. But I think I can leave it there so that we can discuss later what could this mean, this practice-oriented view, also by Pauli Kosti. Thank you.